Hello, this is Karen Palazak of Quiet Mountain Wellness, and today I'm going to be continuing reading my book, It's Time for a U-Turn. I'll be reading chapters 9 through 11. Chapter 9, What We Don't See. And the contemplation statement for this chapter is this: only in letting go of resistance do we gain true clarity. Only in letting go of resistance do we gain true clarity. You can stop the recording now if you like, and just stay with that statement and allow it to settle into your system. And then whenever you're ready, Chapter 9, What We Don't See. Ensconced in the flurry of a fast-moving life, there seems little time or space for refinement. Our minds are already filled with our burgeoning lists. I need to do, I must do, and I can't do. The static of the myriad of thoughts, worries, fears, and doubts, our collective resistance, keep our minds unable to land. It's like driving in an intense snowstorm where you can barely see what's in front of you, let alone your destination. In that mindset, there is no room for more. With so many thoughts, ideas, emotions, and beliefs to process and organize, we really can't clearly see anything. The mind is like a container that takes on the characteristics of that which fills it and simply acts as a mirror, reflecting the state of its contents. It's time to empty that container. This shift in your thinking, let's call it a thinking upgrade, will require your willingness and openness in order to begin. Once we begin the process of emptying, we can activate the process of refinement to upgrade our actions and reinstate a more natural sense of ebb and flow. What does refinement entail? At very least, cultivating a desire to let go temporarily of how you routinely see and think about your circumstances, your life, and yourself. It means seeing in less gross and more subtle terms. We can look more deeply at the casual things in life, like our habits and patterns, and begin to ask new questions and see the smaller elements embedded there. We can develop an attitude of curious experimentation around our everyday lives. Instead of just doing something, ask, why do I do that? Have I always done that? When did I start doing that? This is how you begin to unpack the subtle in order to reveal the patterns and habits that are driving your beliefs, actions, and life. We don't always have such great respect for the subtle. As in our culture, we tend to favor the bold and believe that boldness has the greatest power. Yet, what the yogis and religious mystics knew is that not only is the power of the subtle far greater than the gross or obvious, it becomes the fuel for powerful boldness. Once you can wrap your mind around this truth, you have a better chance of making a shift. If we don't get off that merry-go-round, we lose the essence of the subtle, that which keeps us alive. Consider your breath. That is a very subtle force. You can go a long time without eating, less without sleeping, less without water, and even less without breath. The subtle is so important to our vitality and deeper happiness. If we lose our connection to the subtle, we lose our connection to our own greatness as well as our innate personal guidance system. When the connection to the subtle diminishes, we also lose our connection to spirit and to the subtle life energies that have the ability to uplift us beyond our doubts and fears. Ultimately, when we become disconnected from our own worth, we look around and say, is this all there is? Is this all I am? Your ability to answer those questions will reveal clues about the level which you are currently connecting to the subtle energies and deeper truth within. The bottom line, when we lose our subtle self-honoring connection, life becomes harder, and we become harder and denser in response. Each one of us has the exact body that is a perfect reflection of our thoughts, feelings, actions, habits, and patterns. The body keeps score, and like a mirror is always reflecting back the compilation of our choices, thoughts, and experiences. But sometimes we get a little mad at that mirror for what it shows. To get a bit of distance from that emotion, think of the body instead as a thermometer that is taking the temperature of our choices and their effects. When you read a thermometer, do you get angry at it if it does not show you the number you're hoping for? Likely not, because you understand that it is a tool of measurement. The body is the ultimate tool of measurement, organizing and accounting our myriad choices 24/7. You can't have a sustainably wonderful life if you are not caring well for your body, because you will be disconnected from its true and miraculous capacity. If you've been stressed or burning the midnight oil, your body will reflect this to you through confusion that may show up as a headache, fatigue, gas, or the sniffles. Dis-ease is distracting. Pain is distracting. When you are ready to go to the next level of your life, you will realize that it is a tough row to hoe if you're not also willing to go to the next level of your health by caring for your body in more intentionally refined ways. This means looking at the way you are living and making some positive and affirming choices to improve its temperature. In some ways, our bodies are also like babies. If you have ever babysat or had a baby of your own, you soon realize it is important to feed the baby the right things at the right time, and for the baby to have some rest and play, time to be curious, time for nourishment, connection, bathing, and sleeping. We have all witnessed babies in a shopping mall or store that are in need of a snack or nap. They are generally very clear in demonstrating exactly how they are experiencing that deficit. Yet, when we do tend to them predictably and well, the baby is usually pretty happy. It is the same for our bodies. The next time you think you want to skip a meal or skip a few hours of sleep, recall that idea of your body as a baby. It may not protest with an audible cry, but it will get that message to you in one way or the other. People of all times and histories had similar struggles when it comes to caring for the body. We are not alone. On a recent trip to Italy, I was visiting the Sistine Chapel in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. I was surprised to learn from our tour guide, Cecilia, how frustrated Michelangelo got with his body. Apparently, he wrote a letter to God near the end of his life to ask why he was given so much talent only to have it be wasted into old age and decline of the body. While he was working, he rarely ate, slept, or drank water. This is a journey we all share. The less we connect with our bodies through self-honoring choices, the more the body becomes a mystery that we find difficult to understand. Let's agree that this idea of partnering with the body is one we can all improve on in one way or another. Don't we so easily forget that in so very many ways our bodies multitask so that we don't have to? Your body is the ultimate efficiency expert, handling all the processes and chemical reactions required to live, adjusting in every moment. Its intelligence and organizing power keep us going by bringing all that is needed to all areas of the body, with little to no knowledge or conscious active support from us. We aren't acutely aware of the work the body does to keep us alive because our minds are focused on living rather than simply observing the autonomic processes of the body. Yet, what the wise person understands is each and every choice one makes can create either more ease or more difficulty for the body to do its work to stay healthy. There are thousands of micro actions happening in real time, and in an important and subtle way, we can positively participate in creating a harmonious environment through self-honoring choices. This is a powerful link to all we can become, working together with our bodies through this sacred partnership. And again, let's revisit our contemplation statement. Only in letting go of resistance do we gain true clarity. Only in letting go of resistance do we gain true clarity. Chapter 10, The Power of Baby Steps. And our contemplation statement for this chapter is, the greatest power lives in the smallest of moments. The greatest power lives in the smallest of moments. Chapter 10, The Power of Baby Steps. Let's talk about baby steps. They are powerful first and foremost because they are a more accessible tool for success than a giant step. Secondly, baby steps are much easier to bring to a place of automation. Thirdly, Their profundity is magnified by the fact that their simplicity is universally available to all without exclusions. These virtues make them both little and powerful. Although we are often enamored by complexity, the truth is you will move farther forward with greater consistency and steadiness using simple baby steps. Over time, these little darlings will help you permanently dissolve self-diminishing patterns and habits that once appeared to have power over you. Another bonus? Baby steps reliably deepen your connection with self, becoming your most trusted and valuable allies. Wisdom tells us the most effective and sustainable ways to make positive changes are by taking small, intentional, positive actions over and over again. Think about why this would work. It mirrors the breath. It mirrors our heartbeat. Each action, one at a time, done over and over again. One inhale, one exhale, one heartbeat, one chemical reaction, done over and over again. This is the language of life and the body, and is the foundation of our lives. No matter what we do, breath, heart, and chemical reactions are all chugging along, one at a time, and constantly adjusting to keep us balanced in every moment in an effort to fulfill our every need. Our ability to thrive is hidden in the humility of the simplest singular unit, one small action strung together by millions of repetitions. The lesson? What we automate becomes our foundation for better or worse. This framework helps us unlock the true power over our lives when we can begin to see them in moments instead of seeing through sweeping generalities, all or nothing. Granted, it may be way more exciting to take a large action, like the choice to go on a juice cleanse or fast for a week. However, when the cleanse is over, either we find ourselves going back to our old habits, or once again, we will return to baby steps in order to sustain the work we did on our cleanse or fast. Often we take a step that is so large it creates excitement overload, which can easily morph into fear. Each of us has the ability to contain a certain amount of excitement. When we go over that amount, we start to feel doubt in ourselves, or worse yet, we experience a failure, small, epic, or somewhere in between, that eats away at our confidence. We don't want to try again. We just want to be done. What does it really mean to be done? It means you are no longer expanding your consciousness. This goes against the flow of life itself. The magic of baby steps is that they create a building of belief and a conservation of our energies, as well as a preservation of our eagerness and enthusiasm to try and succeed once again. I'm convinced that the power of baby steps are seriously undervalued. If we can accept that baby steps are powerful because they carry the strength of subtle awareness and bring us into the present moment through collecting and directing our awareness, we can begin to appreciate their true value. Let's go a little further with the idea of automation. The autonomic processes of our bodies happen in a rather behind-the-scenes manner. We rarely pay attention to them. Can you imagine If the autonomic processes required your constant awareness and action, life would get a whole lot more complicated. But that is not the case. The autonomic processes, like breath and heartbeat, are the foundation of our lives. They work as they do in order that we might pay greater attention to creating, serving, worshiping, and attending to our relationships, careers, and lives. Essentially, they free a part of our awareness, so we might have that available to use for more creative, higher quality choices and actions to live more extraordinary lives. Baby steps create the foundation as we automate them. Contrast the first time you drove a car and entered a busy expressway on-ramp to how you drive today. Over time, you have, by baby steps, automated the actions necessary for driving. By virtue of automating your driving habits, you can allocate and direct more of your awareness towards paying attention to other drivers, hazards on the road, or to avoid an accident. New drivers have less of their attention available because they have not yet automated their driving skills. This is the importance of automation. It frees a greater portion of your awareness for the tasks at hand. In each moment, we can ask ourselves what we need and give exactly that to our bodies through the action of an honorable baby step. Each day, we can agree that we will do a few things like clockwork to build strong foundational momentum toward improving the health of our bodies. Things like resting when our bodies are tired, or committing to eating 3 nourishing meals at predictable times each day, or starting each day with a 5-minute meditation or breath awareness practice. Our bodies need constant care, feeding, cleaning, tending. They are also amazing machines that can do a whole lot of incredible things without us even giving them a second thought. When it comes to the everyday care of the body, you might think it's a hassle. Maybe you've been getting away with not taking great care of your body for so long, you falsely believe that you don't have to. Habit changes aren't really all that fun either. We all have negative habits and patterns, many of which aren't even conscious. Few treat their bodies like the sacred temples they are meant to be. Until there's an emergency. When we have an emergency, we tend to make our choices with confidence and crystal clarity. Not long ago, I accidentally scratched my eye on a stray branch of a bush while doing some landscaping. I knew when it happened that it immediately felt like an uh-oh moment. Long story short, I went to multiple doctors multiple times to treat what they thought was a potential fungal infection from the branch. It didn't hit home how serious this was until the specialist said I should be mindful about noticing any changes in my eye, because if the infection took hold, I could lose my eye in 48 hours. Lose my eye. Those were the only words I heard and felt the shot of adrenaline go through my body. There it was. Urgency. I scoured my Ayurveda books and did some intense research on what I could do to reduce the chance of any fungus in my eye taking hold. I also reached out to some of my teachers for their 2 cents, not only in the physical things I could do to support myself, but the spiritual things as well. In these moments, we toss aside those monkeys on our backs and pay attention. This is the value of urgency. It cuts through the nonsense and chatter from our ego minds that tell us we don't have to give something up, or pontificate in endless justifications about how our life is better with it instead of without it. Thankfully, not every situation has such a level of urgency, yet it is in those lesser cases we also tend to be less willing to pounce into clear action and give more of an ear to the mind chatter. We believe that immediate action is not truly necessary or imminent, so we allow those tendencies and justifications of our minds to lead by going unchecked. In a case where one may have received a frightening diagnosis, like cancer, it can make us reel back. While processing the diagnosis, we may criticize ourselves for not making the changes we knew all along, deep down, that we should have made, the ones that seemed so hard to make until we find ourselves in trouble. Yet, in the face of urgency, something greater rises up that quickly and powerfully readies our motivation to make all necessary changes. We want to live. We often ignore the warning signs until we hit the tragedy. Yet, this urgency or tragedy is indisputably the fastest way to get our attention. We could say, when we do get it wrong, that divine energy, so loving, will use our errors to get us back on track, ASAP. I was not messing around when it came to doing the right thing for my eye because there was so much at stake. I followed every direction from every doctor and my teachers to a T. I ate the proper foods, took the proper herbs, spent extra time in my healing and spiritual practices, and applied the ointments in care of my eye, making time for everything I was asked to do. I was so grateful that I could, in fact, do at least a few things to directly affect the outcome of this situation. Contrast that with my decision to let go of caffeine, alcohol, and soda. I was able to approach and achieve these goals successfully using the baby step method, one self-honoring choice at a time, which proved a powerful and sustainable way to release them. The process felt gentle, loving, and worked beautifully. I grew to understand through direct experience the tremendous value of this method. When urgency is not an issue, I would choose baby steps every time. Liberation truly does happen, one choice at a time. In a nutshell, baby steps are all about freedom. Their size allows them to stealthily slip under the radar of our triggers, and they provide support enough to help avoid that angsty craving for what we are trying to release. This generates a constant, steadying forward momentum on the path to greater well-being. Once you get enough distance from whatever you'd like to let go of, through the portals of time and repetition, not only will you not miss it, you may very well have a hard time believing you were ever fooled into thinking you needed it nearly as much as you once believed. You will have earned a newfound clarity, strength, and confidence. It really does feel like the light bulb goes on. It won't be long after turning the corner to that profound realization that your power to be free takes on a whole new level of belief, eagerness, excitement, and passion. And again, our contemplation statement for Chapter 10 is this: the greatest power lives in the smallest of moments. The greatest power lives in the smallest of moments. And feel free to stop the recording here and stay with the contemplation statement if that is your desire. Chapter 11. Repetition potentizes optimism. And the contemplation statement is this: revel over and over in your power to choose rightly. Revel over and over in your power to choose rightly. Chapter 11. Repetition potentizes optimism. Making small changes sounds simple enough. Yet, even though the action itself is simple, there are no guarantees that it will be easy. That said, making small changes is much easier than putting upon yourself ultimatums that can be about as fun and successful as trying to hold your breath for great amounts of time. Some of us may simply not be fully willing to step a toe out of our comfort zone, even if what we are doing isn't working, because it's all we know. It's familiar. And the smart money says any type of habit change we undertake will require us to gather and direct energy. This is because change requires movement. This is the saving grace of baby steps. They remind us that the energy we need to collect and direct repeatedly is simply the energy enough for one small step. Yes, we will likely need to take that one small step many, many times before lasting change is achieved. But the undercurrent of that process is continually building an optimistic momentum around the success of every baby step, always yielding a small amount of uplifting energy to fuel your next evolutionary step, and the next, and the next. Even so, we often harbor resistance to change. We may tell ourselves it won't matter if we change, or that we don't really matter that much, or how much difference would it really make if we changed anyway. We don't like the odds because often learning something new means we are vulnerable to failure. Let's face it, learning is new. It is practicing. What is important is opening up to a new way of seeing something, doing something, or knowing something. It's trying and failing, trying and succeeding, and then failing. Who knows how many more times until we've got it. In order to learn anything, we must accept that we cannot take action just once. Repetition is what roots our habits into the automated and solidifies our preferences. It is the key to potency. In walking this path, it is essential to cultivate the willingness to step out of our comfort zones and look at what is really needed in a dynamic way in order to grow. Acknowledging the need for practice and allowance of our inevitable missteps along the way build both compassion as well as optimism. We realize one error does not a failure make. These beliefs, reflected through their resulting actions, can become literally life-saving. Yet, the more comfortable the habit, the more resistance or discomfort there is in changing it. Repetition and persistence aren't all that sexy. Agreed. We could say that even though repetition and persistency may be seen as two negatives, those two negatives added together make one powerful positive: optimism. Without optimism, we tend to lose our interest in or connection to the future, as well as the potential meaning that our contribution may bring to it. Optimism is exactly the energy we need to create when it comes to increasing our own capacity to release our inner resources. If we want to live better, happier, more meaningful lives, we have to keep walking ourselves up that spiral and not allow those moments of falling backwards on the journey to keep us from where we really want to go. It's a beautiful thing to have strengthened the muscle of honor consciousness enough to choose what is honorable to the deepest, truest parts of ourselves. Ask yourself, what is really worth keeping, and what is holding me back? Why is this important? Because only we can reinvent ourselves. And by doing this, we also reinvent our futures, one choice at a time. The momentum starts to pick up once you begin choosing with self-honor. While self-honoring choices release our inner resources, negative thinking will drain them dry. This is one way to check in. Do you feel exhausted or stressed much of the time? Is your mind so busy and wound that you find it difficult to calm it down? If so, starting a practice of self-honoring choices would begin to get you back in touch with the wisest part of yourself. And by bringing yourself into the present moment, begin to take you back up that rising spiral of well-being rather than sliding down. The more you make self-honoring choices, the more success you will eventually experience. Knowing that you are honoring yourself in the ways that matter most helps to build a positive and optimistic state of mind. The more we choose self-honor, the more optimistic and powerful we become. Yet, it isn't a competition where the only goal is to win. In fact, competition can interfere with our learning. J. Krishnamurti puts it this way: real learning comes about when the competitive spirit has ceased. End quote. The goal instead is to walk this journey of optimism as far up that spiral as you can, and do so with intention, curiosity, experimentation, and compassion. Criticism will crush your optimism, so be mindful that you don't let it have a voice. In other words, don't take yourself too seriously. I know well that it works against us. When I take myself too seriously, I can lose not only my sense of humor, but can forget to go within for all the help I need. On this subject, Pope John shares this: it often happens that I wake up at night and begin to think about a serious problem and decide I must tell the Pope about it. Then I wake up completely and remember that I am the Pope. End quote. I love the empowering nature of this quote. It's humorous and speaks volumes. Not only do we need to laugh at ourselves, we also need to remember that we are formidable and can go deep within our own selves to resolve our blocks to happiness. Remembering this power we have helps protect our optimism. In the interest of adding just one more point of support, I'll close this chapter with some wise words from Viktor Frankl. An outsider may be astonished to hear that one could find a sense of humor in a concentration camp. Humor was another of the soul's weapons in the fight for self-preservation. It can afford an aloofness and an ability to rise above any situation, even if only for a few seconds. End quote. I realize we all have challenges, but if Viktor Frankl could find humor in a Nazi concentration camp, we can certainly find some in our own day-to-day lives. So by all means, laugh at yourself. Laugh at the craziness of life instead of letting it take you down. When we repeat choices that build optimism and seek and find the humor in our errors and misapprehensions instead of failure, we become supported by an energetic current of optimistic potency. And our contemplation statement to complete this chapter is this: revel over and over in your power to choose rightly. Revel over and over in your power to choose rightly.